All right, Miss Claire, how are you doing?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm doing awesome. So, do you want to kick us off here and talk about a little bit about what we're going to talk about today?
Yes, I am Claire Blosser with Keller Williams Cornerstone Team. In my office is in Dallas, and today we're going to talk about how to build your credit and what are the pros of building a credit. And Walt is going to give us ideas and advice on little tricks on how we can do that faster.
Yep,
Very
definitely.
looking forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you. So, credit I think is one thing that it's really hard to define and it's really hard to really know what to do. There's so much information out there and what's correct, what's not correct, and that. And so I did a continuing ed class a few months back with my credit expert, which is with mycreditguy.com. And so his name's Jesse, and who oversees the whole sales division there. And um, we're going to talk about some of those things that we learned from that class because he's a true expert in there. You can also look up on my YouTube channel. You can find that class with Jesse and really go deeper on credit. It's interesting that the highest score that a person can have is an 850 score, and that's with the bureaus. But when
What is the
asked,
lowest?
well, like zero,
Okay.
but um, but the lowest that I have seen is in the 400s.
Okay.
So good question. Yeah. So, but zero would be no credit, and well, I guess I've seen zeros. I mean, I've seen where it doesn't report.
Okay.
Credit just doesn't report because people just don't use credit, and that's the one thing that people don't understand is that if you don't use credit, it will become stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
Become stagnant, then and we'll talk more about this later. Then you don't have it in essence. So great question.
So is there an age that is actually too early to start working on credits?
Nope.
Okay.
No, so a story of mine. Um, so I had a paper route when I was younger, and I want to say I don't 10, 11, 12, something like that. And so newspaper route might have been even earlier than that. Um, and then how old are you when you're in junior high? Do you happen to remember? Like,
Junior high, hold on, 13 is eighth grade.
okay, so 12, 13. Um, might have been even 11, might have been sixth grade. Anyway, it was in that area there. I don't remember exactly where, but it was during the summer. I had saved up quite a bit of money. At least to me, it was quite a bit of money. It was about $600, $700. And I'd saved that up in the Statesman Journal Credit Union, which, I delivered papers for the Statesman Journal. And it's just a little local credit union that the Statesman Journal had and that. And I was I told my dad, I said, I want to buy some golf clubs. And he said,
Hmm.
great, do you have the money for it? And I said, yeah. And he said, okay, perfect. He said, get a loan on it. And I'm like, what? Get a loan? No, I'll just go pay cash. That's what we do, right? If you have the money, you go
If
pay
you have the
cash.
money, pay cash. Yes.
So that's what we
That's
should do. That's responsible, right? So, and my dad said, no, you need to start building credit. And he taught me that at a very early age. And so I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure he co-signed. So
Oh, I'm sure he had to.
I'm sure he had to. So, but he might not have because it's a credit union. They can kind of do what they want to do anyway. But anyway, I ended up getting a loan for the golf court or for the golf clubs, my bag, my shoes. I mean, all that stuff. Um, and I remember, I paid that loan for several months. Every month, I would religiously go down and make another payment, until I got annoyed of going down and making the payments, and then I just went in and paid the whole loan off. So, but that enabled me when I was 18 to then go and buy a car, $10,000 car, which was no problem. again, I went through the Statesman Journal Credit Union. I just went down and I said, "Hey, I want a loan for $10,000." They had me fill out an application, and they said, "Yeah, you're approved. It's not a problem." Uh,
Wow.
and then later on, a couple years later, I traded that car in, and then bought another car. And when I did that, the salesperson had told me that basically the finance guy showed him my credit score and said, "Walt can have any car in the slot he wants."
That's a very nice compliment.
So yeah, and that's at an early age. That was like 20.
Yeah.
So no, so it's credit is something that is so important. Um, and it's something to start at an early age responsibly. Um, because what I've seen is so many kids going to, um, like getting into college, and there they really push to get a credit card and that, and it's not, um, so many kids get into trouble with that. I remember
Well,
it.
and a lot of kids too start with student debt.
Well, of course. I mean, yeah. But on top of that, then they get a credit card for just little things that they want to do or whatever. And it
Right.
reminds me of a story of a person that I worked with, that she had a person that had called her for, a sponsor, a solicitor, and they were trying to sell her something, some credit thing and stuff. And she was like, "Oh, free money." Well, no, it's not free money. And she's like, "No, of course it's free money. You're trying to give it to me, right?" And she was just trying to get him off the phone. But it's like, no, credit
It's
is not.
true. I knew somebody that was like that, got a credit card for a small balance, and he was like, "Yeah, it's free money." And I was like, "No, it really isn't."
It's not. So yeah, and it can be very, very expensive. I mean, you're looking at, I have a credit card right now. I just looked, and I normally don't pay attention to my interest rates very closely. And so, because I don't care. I don't really care balances, so I don't care. But I have I just noticed I have a credit card that has a 34% interest rate right now. Another one that has a 29% interest rate, and most of them are in the 20s, and it's like, okay, that's how they get you. I mean,
Mhm.
that's how they get you. So I did have I had a solicitation, that it was basically sign this check and go cash it. It was, I don't remember, 5,000, 10,000, whatever it was. And I'm like, huh. And I'm looking at the fine print on it, and it actually said, I don't think I have the picture anymore, but it actually said it was 100% interest. So I was
Oh
like,
my God,
yeah, no, 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 no. But I just wondered how many people sign the check, don't really pay attention to it.
they don't.
It's $120 a month or whatever, and they don't pay attention to it. So you got to read the fine print. You got to look at the fine print. So let me ask you, what do you know about credit, about building credit, credit scores and that? I mean, you're in the business, you're not directly tied to the business, so you don't see everything I see. But you
Correct.
certainly know more than the general public.
Well, yes, my knowledge is pretty limited because you are the expert. So when a client comes to me and says, "Hey, how can I increase my credit?" I will always refer to their lender. But my knowledge is that it's a game, and it's kind of like Monopoly, only not. You have to play by their rules in order to get credit, and know what the rules are. Um, and just to be careful, not co-signing for anybody that you're having a gut feeling from. I do know that if you don't use a credit card for a period of time, they might shut down your account, which will drop your credit. Um, a car payment is a open line of credit pretty much. So if you pay it off, your credit might drop, but after that, your credit is going to jump. So it's like it's always like this.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and that's so true. I mean, I had a Capital One account, that I'd actually forgotten about, honestly. And I get a new, I mean, I had a small balance, a small high credit limit, so I never really paid attention to it. Um, and so it was one that I had for years and years and years. And I got a new card on it, and I just stuck the card in my drawer. And again, I didn't activate it, and I completely
Mhm.
spaced it, just completely spaced it. And all of a sudden, then I get a thing from them stating that they closed my account.
Yep.
And I'm like, you jerks.
I had the same thing happen to me a few years back.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's interesting, as I was talking about credit scores, if you ask the bureaus, how do you get an 850 score? They don't even know. So they've just said,
Really?
yep, they've just said it's an algorithm. And we think, great, what's the key to the algorithm? Is it, you have a mortgage, you have an auto loan that has a 50% balance, and you have one credit card that owes 10%. I mean, and they said we don't know. And so even the bureaus don't even know how you have a perfect credit score. So it's kind of tried and true. And so today we're going to share, I want to share with you some, I think that personally, I think that credit is a game.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about that game today. There's some things that you can do to beat the game, to at least put things in your favor. And so we're going to talk about those. So let's
Great.
start to run through. So we know, we certainly know why credit is important. Why, help me, I mean, know exactly why you believe credit's important.
Well, for different things. I mean, stores will run your credit for to rent furniture or buy your TV. Your credit is ran to lease out an apartment, to buy your car. And on the credit, they're going to see how good you are at paying your bills. Debt is on there. So if you have a low credit, you have higher debt, they're going to know.
Yep. No, it's really in everything that we do. It's, we want, we want to start, but we get that apartment and we want to start services like electricity or water or whatever. They're going to run our credit. Um,
Some insurance companies run credit,
exactly.
and I was thinking there was something else that runs credit. Oh, some credit unions, they will run your credit to open an account.
Yep. Yep. Even your cell phone company runs your credit.
Hmm.
So it's just it's in everything that we do. So it's important to have the best possible credit score that really we can have.
Right.
And so um, there's a slide here. I'm not showing it right now, but it just says your credit score is like your financial report card,
Yep, it really is.
and it really is. Um, so what is credit? And you know, it says good credit shows how financially trustworthy you are. Now, I think with that comment, one hand I agree with that, on the other hand, I don't agree with it.
Okay.
And let me just walk with me for a quick second on that. I think that good credit, I don't think your credit score completely tells the whole picture. So
I would have to agree with that. Yeah.
I've seen people that have a lot of outstanding credit, but they make their payments every month. And they're not late. I think they're trustworthy individuals in that they just have had a situation that life has thrown at them where they've had to use their credit, and their scores can be really, really low because of that.
And it could be anything like a divorce or something like that. Could
Yeah.
really be anything. So, yeah, your credit score does not dictate who you are.
Yep. So I think now a low credit score could also mean that you haven't been making your payments. So I think in that sense, yes, it shows the financial trustworthiness of an individual. But I want to be very careful on, your score doesn't depict who you are as an individual, and especially as long as you're able to make the payments every month and that, and again, it could be medical, it could be divorce, it could be a lot of things. You
Yeah.
got to get into debt. But anyway, so and
I
the
want to add a little something too is that for my industry as a real estate agent, we do not need to know what your credit score is. We might ask to be able to guide you on what could happen, but that information is between you, the client, and the lender. So that is private information on that aspect.
yeah,
That does not reflect anything on us. So it's private.
right. And on our side, I mean, we don't share it, so
Yeah.
it's all private. Um, you know, the higher the score, the better. And that's really what everybody's always looking for is to be able to have the highest score, and it really does help in a lot of different aspects. And then good credit helps you buy a car, as you talked about, rent an apartment, buy a home. And again, the other things that we've talked about, whether it's services, you know, even if you're renting an apartment or a house, you got to get the garbage, you know, they got to get the garbage there. You got, I mean, and they're gonna all
Water.
going to run your credit. And so, so really work on having a higher score. And again, I'm going to talk about some of the tricks of the trade. So, building good credit is a choice, and it really is. And it's, you know, paying your bills and your credit cards on time in full. Don't close, and this is one that people don't understand, is do not close old accounts.
Yep.
So try to keep those as long as possible. If they're ones like Claire and I talked about, it would have been wiser for us to take that credit card and just go buy lunch on it once a month and pay it off every month. Um,
Fill up a tank.
yep, fill up
Yep.
the tank, you know, pay it off every month, whatever. Because what happens is that one thing that credit looks at is the longevity of accounts. And so when you have an account that's a long time and all of a sudden the credit card company shuts it down because we haven't used it, then all that history goes with it. So, so credit card companies look at, you know, an overall use of time as well. Um, and the other way is, you know, to help boost your score is that you can have your credit card companies increase your credit lines. So,
Yes.
you know, be able to do that.
And then so you'll have to contact your credit card company for that. They're not going to volunteer that information for you.
Exactly. And I did want to show this one here. So I think this is an important slide. So credit is made up of really these key areas. It's payment history, credit utilization, credit history length, as we just talked about, new credit, and credit mix.
What's mixed credit?
So that would be like a credit card, an installment loan, which would be an auto loan or a personal loan, you know, a mortgage, those different things. And it's looking like, with the changes of credit recently, it's looking like your cell phone is going to be part of that.
Really?
Looks like they're going to start reporting. We don't know exactly when, but it's going to be relatively soon, it looks like. Also, it looks like utilities will start reporting.
Wow.
And it also looks like apartments are going to start reporting, or rent, you know, landlords are going to start reporting. So those things will start to be on your credit report relatively soon, as long as the laws and all that go through with everything. So, but here we're looking at for your FICO score. And right now I'm going to talk about FICO score. There are two different scoring models, FICO and Vantage. We'll talk more about Vantage in a minute. But on your FICO score, which is what most people use, it's what we use in the mortgage industry, 30% of your score is amount owed, 10% is new credit, 15% is length of history, 10% is mix of credit. So that mix of credit isn't as important, but it's still important. And then 35% is really your payment history. So the big parts, 35% and 30%, and you're talking 65% is amount owed and history. You gotta watch those. So it's important to keep those balances low, and it's important to pay on time.
How low?
I will talk about that.
Okay, good.
So, and actually, let me make sure here. You know what? I think now's a good time. Well, I can talk about it later, but I'm going to talk about it now. So, as I said, credit is a game, in my opinion. Um, now, one thing that I teach, and I teach a 10, 30, 50% rule. So,
Okay.
and that is, let's just say that you have a high credit limit of $1,000.
Okay.
On that credit card, you don't ever want to charge more than 10%. That's $100.
Okay.
If you have a truck, go fill your car up and then stop at $100. So you have a car, you can fill it up maybe twice. So, but you don't ever want to go above $100. And I say ever because that is truly a definitive word with that, but there are exceptions, and I'll share with you kind of the trick of the trade on that. So from there, and that's going to be able to give you the best possible score. So the score is going to be somewhere in the 760, 780, 790 range if you
Okay.
if you go up to 30% of the high credit limit, or $300 on a $100,000 or on a $1,000 credit balance, um, at that point your score is going to drop, and it's going to be somewhere in the 720-ish range in there. 710, 720, 730. The next level is 50%. If you go to 50% of your high credit limit, at that point your score is going to drop, and you're going to be somewhere in the 650 range. So you really try not to go above that 50%. Now, again, life happens, right? So the trick of the trade is this. So within a credit card statement, you have a start point and an end point in that statement, kind of a life of the statement. And then the statement closes. They then print out an actual paper statement or whatever, an email, and then they send it to you, and then they give you the bill, and they say you've spent again, on $1,000, you spent $665. You owe us $40, this pay period, or this period. And so, okay, that's great. Well, you're over 50% of the high credit limit, so you're going to get dinged pretty hard on your credit. What you can do is that before the statement date, before the end of that end statement date, before the bill's created and all that, because that's when they report to the agencies. So before that end date, call your credit card company or go into your app or whatever, look at your balance, and if you're at $665 on a $1,000 high credit limit, pay the card down at that time, about 5 days previous. So therefore the payment gets in there, because if it's during a weekend, it's not going to get in there. So give yourself a little bit of time. So about 5 days, make a payment, make a $500 payment, and then it gets you down closer to that 10% of your high credit limit. So when that statement date ends, all of a sudden, boom, it shows, oh, they were below, they were at their 10%, and then they get the best possible score. So now you're gonna have a higher score of the 780 or so. Does that make sense?
It does.
It means, it's a little more of, again, it's a game, and that's why I'm really calling it a game. If you want to play that, it then gives a little bit more ability to be able to check or it takes a little more time, a little more effort. But for me, I'm competitive in a lot of things, and I just it's I'm gonna play that game to try to get the highest score, and not to feel better about it or whatever. But it's no, I mean, and we all have life situations, but it's just I want to compete against myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to compete against, to me, a losing proposition, which is the credit card companies. It's kind of like stacking the bets in Vegas. It's
Yeah.
that the the win or whatever, the Planet Hollywood, they're going to win eventually. I mean, it's so what can you do to stack the bets in your favor to maybe win some of the times opposed to them winning all the time? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So I have a question. So let's say somebody, so this is great knowledge. And so somebody's credit dropped because they didn't make that payment 5 days before. So how long, if they pay off the card right away, will it shoot back up hard the next month?
Yeah, it could.
Or, okay,
It could the next month. It could take a couple of months.
okay.
Typically, scores come down fast, but they go up slower. Um, but it could. And the thing is that if you don't pay it off 5 days before that statement date ends, it's not the end of the world. I mean, just pay it down, and maybe you have to take 2 months to pay it down, and that's
Hmm.
okay. And
Yeah,
that
things
just
happen.
Yep, just make the payment. Especially in today's life. I mean, with inflation and everything, and it's tough to live right now. So,
Yeah.
so just do the best that you can. So,
That's why we had the class on budget.
exactly,
Live within your budget.
exactly. So, did you know that there's two different credit scoring models?
No.
So there actually is. There's a Vantage scoring model, and there is a FICO scoring model. So
What
now,
about the equestrian one? What is it called?
well, that's where you buy horses.
No, I don't know the
Equifax.
name. Yes, that.
So that is the FICO scoring model. So there's TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian.
Okay.
Um,
Experian, that's what it is.
Experian, yes. Um, Equine would be more, going out and buying horses. So I don't know that model. So, um, but the FICO scoring model again is TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax, and that's the most commonly used model right now. With the big beautiful bill that just went through, with the Trump organization, Trump presidency, they're moving towards more of a Vantage scoring model. It looks like. Now the Vantage scoring model is used by when you get your credit card statement. They use the Vantage scoring model. So you get your credit card statement and it says, here's what your credit score is. That's your Vantage score. Credit Karma uses Vantage. There's a lot of different places that use Vantage. I don't know why that popped up. I don't remember why, but it popped up several years ago. And that's why when clients unfortunately get frustrated with us because they're checking like their Credit Karma Vantage scoring model, and they come into us and then we pull their credit and the credit's lower, their credit score is lower than what it shows on Vantage. Now, the interesting thing and the more difficult thing to explain, and I'm going to try to do as best I can, is the FICO scoring model. I so wish I could just say it's one credit score, but it isn't.
Yeah.
Within the FICO scoring model, you can have hundreds of ways to pull a credit. So, and let me just try to explain it in the simplest terms that I understand. So there's literally 9 or 10 FICO scoring models now.
Geez, okay.
Now with that, and this is why it could be hundreds, because any one of those models, there could be an agency that says, I want FICO scoring 3, 5, 7, and 10. And the other one can say, I want FICO scores 1, 2, 5, and 7. And so there's just so many different mixes of how it can be. But in a simplistic view, let me just kind of walk you through this way. A typical credit card will pull one FICO scoring model, maybe two.
Okay.
So they may pull two of those numbers, out of the 10. An auto dealer is going to use your beacon score, which I don't remember if that's Equifax or Experian or whatever it is, but going to use your beacon score. Might even be your FICO. I don't even remember. But it's your beacon score. They are pulling typically about 2 to 3 FICO scoring models. And the more models that you pull, the deeper that you're getting. We're going to typically pull 5 to 6 FICO scoring models. So we go the deepest. We will see we'll see everything on your credit. I will see any aliases that you've used ever. So, so if you've been, you grew up as one name, your maiden name, you got married, and then you got divorced and you got remarried, we're going to see all of those names. So those are going to be aliases that you've had. The frustrating thing is that we're going to see all the names that anybody has pulled credit under your name.
So if there's a typo, it'll show.
Exactly. So like my last name is Schultz, pronounced with a T, but not spelled with a T. And people add a T in there all the time. So that's one of my aliases. It is SCHULTZ. Even though I've never used it, some person pulled my credit with a T in it sometimes. So now it's like,
Yeah.
okay. So yeah, so it can be very convoluted in that, but that's why there's so many different levels of credit. It's like your credit card company can say, oh, your credit score is 780, and you go buy a car, and they're saying, no, your credit score is 720, and then you come to me and I say, no, your credit score is 650. And it can really, but it can also change within your credit card company says your credit score is 780, you pull a Credit Karma, and they could say your credit score is 740.
Yeah.
They're using the Vantage score. So it's so hard to know which one is which and where to go. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So again, what's on a credit report? Personal information, credit accounts, public records, so bankruptcies, judgments, things like that. Bankruptcy is going to stay in your credit for 10 years. Most people think 7. It's actually 10. And then your creditors have the ability to, if they've sent you to court and they have a judgment against you, they have an opportunity to keep, after that 10 years, to re-up your account and keep it on for another 10 years.
Jeez. Okay.
So, public records are going to be on there. Credit inquiries, can't speak today very well or enunciate very well.
It's
And then, of
Monday.
course, account status and history. So, um, there's 4 common credit reporting errors are going to be incorrect personal information, like misspelling of last name, mistake with account details, balance and credit card limits, and then outstanding information. So I always say if a person's getting ready to look at buying a house, and they could be getting ready to buy a house next year, it doesn't matter. Let's pull their credit now.
Hmm.
Let's take a look at it. If you've gone through a bankruptcy, let's pull your credit now because inevitably there's going to be incorrect information on there, and then we need to
Mm.
start working to get it off. So, and that can take a while sometimes. So let me show you this slide here. I think this is an important slide. Um, so if there's free ways to be able to get your credit score. Again, it depends upon what scoring model you want to use. So Experian is a great place to go to get your credit score. There's also annualcreditreport.com. There's credit card issuers, and so your credit card companies will show you your score. Credit
For
score
free?
services. I'm sorry.
Will the credit card companies show it for free?
Yep, just on your statement. My bank now shows me I have Chase. I mean, I get a thing of my credit scores from them.
Really?
There's credit card services that you can use, and then there's credit card nonprofit counselors. So the big one is really annualcreditreport.com. You can pull a free credit report there. Um, and the other one, what I always suggest is just go to Credit Karma and pull, and get sign up, and then there, start to look at it and have it, that gives you a good reference of where your credit is right now. And then just look at the score, whether that's a correct score or not. If it goes up, your credit score is going up. If it goes down, your credit score is going down. So,
But still, Credit Karma,
yeah, Credit
like if
Karma.
somebody goes to see you, the client needs to assume that their FICO score is going to be lower than what is listed on Credit Karma.
Yep,
So have that expectation now.
exactly.
Okay.
And then, dispute errors quickly and do it directly with the bureaus. Now, you can hire, if it's more difficult, and I can counsel you through that. If it's more difficult, then go to a place like mycreditguy.com. I've never endorsed, I've been in the industry now 27 years. I've never endorsed a credit repair company because I've always found them to be not, I've just never endorsed them. And so, it's for multiple reasons. And so mycreditguy.com is the only one that I've ever endorsed, where they're honest. They're going to tell you right from the start. They're going to really do the work they promised to do. So yeah.
Great. Are they
Uh,
local?
no, they're out of Florida.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, and then, provide documentation to support your claim, and then monitor your credit regularly. Now, going to creditkarma.com is going to help you as well to be able to build credit if you don't have credit, because it's going to show you credit cards that you have an outstanding opportunity to be able to get. And then just apply for 1 or 2 cards just to start building credit.
So question,
Yeah.
my stepdaughters are 16.
Yeah.
Can I add them onto my credit card as an authorized user? Would that increase their credit?
That's going to give them credit instantly. Yeah.
It will? Okay.
Yeah. Now with that, just be very, very careful, because the second you give them a credit card, they can go out and spend. And so,
Well, that's where we sit down and
yep.
have a good
Yes,
conversation.
have a good conversation. I would just sit down with the bill with them every month and just say,
Yeah.
okay, what did you spend and how did you spend it? And it's a great way to be able to educate your kids on credit. I mean, that helps to
Uh,
them build credit.
is there a startup age where you can add a child onto a credit card? Like, would 13 be too young?
I don't know. I'm
Okay.
not sure on that. So it's a great question for your credit card company. Again, I know when I was driving, so junior in high school, my mom and dad added me to their Texaco credit card. And so I had my own Texaco credit card, and that's how I would go get gas all the time. So yeah.
Okay.
So it's
Very
just
good.
it's nice. And again, it helps. Um, so so yes, you can go to Credit Karma, you can get added on mom and dad's account. Of course, use credit responsibly, make the payments on time, keep your accounts open, don't close them. And then consider different types of credit as well, and then monitor your credit regularly. So if you're at a 0 score wanting to go up.
Mhm.
Um,
So I have a little bit of an advice because I do have several credit cards.
yeah,
So what I do for my own accounting purposes and my sanity, this is what I do. I use one credit card for gas, one credit card for groceries, one credit card for everything else. Once a month, I pay everything off.
yep, that's great. That's
And it
perfect.
helps.
And you can, again, we've talked about in the past that we're either spenders or savers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say credit is one of those things that um, really watch, because you can get into a lot of trouble. You can, especially if you're a spender. And so really watch. If you're, I was counseled from a mentor of mine years ago that um, if you're not in business, then get a credit card that has a $5,000 credit limit, and that's it, just one. Because you really have no reason to spend over $5,000. And then if you're in business, then get a second credit card with at least a $5,000 credit, with at least a $5,000 high credit limit, but it can pay it off monthly. Um, so do that. I have a very good friend of mine that they are playing I actually have 2 friends of mine that play the credit card points game. And so, they ended up getting, a friend of mine purchased or ended up getting a Alaskan credit card from Bank of America that has points for Alaskan Airlines,
Yeah.
which is also, there's a lot of other joint airlines that it works with as well. So, and she was, so all the expenses that run through the business that need a credit card, they put on that. And they have a business that they run, I mean, a lot, I mean, $75,000 a month of expenses on this credit card. And so and my friend had said, the best thing about that is that I will never pay for an airline ticket again. My kids will never pay for an airline ticket again, and their kids will never pay for an airline ticket again because they have so many points.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a general person, um, even with them, I was speaking to his wife, and she said, "Can you pay your mortgage with a credit card?" Because she was doing that same thing on their personal household budget
Yeah.
and wanting to build those credit card, points for other things, for free travel and whatever, for
Right.
hotel stay and whatnot.
Yeah. Chase does that.
Okay, but I want to just say, watch what you're doing on that, because most of the general public, we don't spend enough to really that it really matters.
Yeah.
And so I say, don't play the credit card or the points game, because I think it can get people into trouble. But if you can and it's responsible, then okay. I mean, yeah, do it. So I think, just knowing your own personal stance. I mean, how are you? Because if you have a credit card that you're getting points on or whatever, and you max it out, well, then that means that you're not getting more points.
Right.
It's maxed out.
Yeah.
So it's one
Yeah.
you have to pay off every month to really make it work. So, and I will share just another story. It was actually kind of funny. Um, my friend had wanted to climb Mount Everest. So he said, "But I'm not crazy." And I'm thinking, yeah, right. And so he said, "But I'm not crazy. I just want to go to base camp," which I think he said it was very high. It was a lot higher than it was higher than Mount Hood, base camp was. And so he said, "I just want to climb to base camp, and it'll take me about 3 weeks." He said, I don't want to climb all the way to the summit of Mount Hood. So he said, "I don't have time to
That's
prepare for that and everything else. I don't have time to do the climb." So he said, 3 weeks I can take and I can do, to base camp. So he and his daughter went and did that. So then he said, so he calls me, and he's only gone for like 2 weeks. And he calls me, and I'm like, "Hey, are you okay? Everything okay?" And he said, "Oh yeah, everything's great." He said, "We're coming home early." He said that the climb wasn't as long as I thought. I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I found out that when you climb to base camp, that it isn't high enough that a helicopter can't get to. So I was able to use my points for my credit card to get a helicopter to come pick us up." So a helicopter came and picked him up. And then he said, "And then I ruined flights for my daughter forever, and probably for myself forever." He said, "But I'm on a plane so much that I just don't, I try not to really pay attention to it so much." But he said, "I've always wanted to fly on United Arab Emirates." And he said, "Not
Okay.
just fly on United Arab Emirates, but I've always wanted to fly first class on United Arab Emirates. But there's no way I'm going to pay." And this is a person that makes really good income, but he said, "There's no way I'm going to pay $30,000 for a ticket. There's just no way."
Yeah.
So he then said, "So I paid for point. I got my points." And we flew on United Arab Emirates. And
Good.
and he said, "Let me share that experience with you." And he said the cherry on the top of the experience was when the steward came to me and said, "Such and such, when would you like your shower?"
Shut up.
And so he said, "I would like my shower about an hour before we hit LA. Can we do that?" And and they said, "Sure." And there's an actual shower in the first class section. It is just, if you ever get a chance, just YouTube it, United Arab Emirates first class, and it will boggle your mind. They have, the chair there goes out to be a bed.
Yeah.
And
See, that'd be good enough for me.
yep, you have your own individual pod. They also bring you these really nice silk pajamas. and these really nice slippers. And then when you get ready to sleep, then they will make the bed out for you with linens and everything. Not just a chair that just folds out. I'm fine with just a
Wow,
chair that folds out. Just give me a blanket. And you
that's
have a
customer
32
service.
inch, I think it was a 32-inch screen TV right in front of you. So it's not like a tiny TV. Um, it's literally it's everything that you can think of. It's over the top, even to the point of, and this is way off even our course. So even to the point where there's two levels of the airport, of the Dubai airport. There's the first class level, and then there's a level where everybody else is, and the first class level is ridiculous. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
So you
Crazy.
can do that
Save your
with
points.
your points, but the point being, and no pun on points, but the point being, really watch your credit.
Yeah.
Work hard to build your credit. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself, to reach out to Claire, and we can help you in any way that we can. Um, but I do counsel, if you're trying to play the point game, just don't. There's just many people that don't have the ability. If you're a saver, go for it. If you know that you're a saver, go for it. But if you have any sense of being a spender in there at all, don't. Just have a regular credit card. Maybe get one that has cash back, so you
Yeah.
immediately get the cash back items, but don't try to play the point game. So, any last words, Claire?
No, that was amazing information.
Perfect.
Bring a lot of good value to people.
Perfect. Well, thank you. And
Thank you.
we're looking for our next classes, or we're looking forward to our next classes, where we're going to be going deeper on fiscal literacy principles. And it's going to start to get really fun. So look forward to
Yes.
seeing you next time.
Bye.
Thanks.